MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, is panicking on live TV. He knows the end is near. You're about to lose your job, MAGA Mike. Whether it's Donald Trump perhaps firing you soon, yeah, because you basically work for him at this point, or with the blue wave sweeping across the United States, the end is near for you at the midterms, MAGA Mike. He is not handling it well, but he's handling it like a MAGA, which means he goes and does his humiliation ritual. Yet again, he trots out there. Donald Trump trots him out there to do his little press conference, his little MAGA Mike press conference. And MAGA Mike's like, I don't think that the election on Tuesday has anything to do with the Republican Party. We're stronger than ever. Are you going to cry, MAGA Mike? Here, play this clip.
I don't think the loss last night was any reflection about Republicans at all. I think people are frustrated and angry, as we are. I am. The president is. And we express that different ways. But look, we look forward. We're looking forward to a great election running on our record. And we're gonna get all of our incumbents reelected, and we're going to add to the number here. So that's the answer. And
then MAGA Mike goes, in fact, as we head into the midterms, we are bullish on the outcome. He goes, we take the results from the election as showing that people love the Republican Party and they love our policies. Here, play this clip.
So it's very clear who's responsible for this. And I think that when we go into next year in the midterms, we're very bullish about the outcome. We have an extraordinary record to run on. You mentioned, Leader Scalise mentioned sort of what we call the split screen here. And I'll remind you all again, under President Trump and Republicans, we have had an extraordinary run. The first 9 months of this, 9 months, the 10th month has been shut down because of the Democrats. The first 9 months of this Congress and this administration, arguably the most productive of all time. We cut taxes, cut regulations, cut waste, fraud, and abuse in government.
Yeah, MAGA Mike, like cutting health care for 17 million Americans, raising health care prices for 25 million Americans who may then lose their health care because they can't afford it, cutting food assistance for 42 million Americans, shutting down the government that you all control, and sending Congress on vacation for, I would say, even more than a month. Like in the past 102 days, Congress has worked about 11 of those days. Let's take a look here what MAGA Mike had to say as well. MAGA Mike says, and again, what happened last night was more about blue states and blue cities. Don't look into this at all. There's nothing more to see here. Here, play this clip.
There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come. That's what history teaches us. By the way, it's worthy of note that Zoran Mandami himself only received a little over 1 million votes, 1,036,000 votes. There are 8.3 million residents in New York City. 8.5 million actually is the number, I think. So about 12% of the city voted to turn their city over to the communists. We'll see how that works out. The lesson.
And next, MAGA Mike says, but what we all need to really focus on is that Donald Trump is literally solving wars around the globe, because I think we're up to 9. He's solving another war, he said. Here, play this clip.
We have put real reforms into the Medicaid program to strengthen it, because we've got people who are ineligible recipients, like illegal aliens and young able-bodied men without dependents, off the program, so that the disabled, the elderly, and young pregnant women can have the resources they need. The president is literally solving wars around the globe. I think we're up to 9. All of that is on one side of the screen. What are the Democrats on the other side of the screen? A government shutdown.
And then there was a moment where there was a heckler there, and MAGA Mike Johnson tried to get the MAGA Republican Congress member Lisa McClain to cool it. And you'll see MAGA Mike almost swat her hand away. Here, play this clip right here.
I can't hear you because we have someone who doesn't respect the rights of their colleagues over here. I'd love to talk with you. Wait. I'd love to talk with you. Come to my office, okay?
You have an obligation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And get this. As it relates to Prop 50, which California Governor Newsom put to the California people to vote on for the mid-decade redistricting there as a response to Texas and Trump trying to rig the midterms, California said, okay, well, we'll do it if you're going to do it, but we're not just going to have a governor say this is how it goes. We'll make it a referendum and we'll make the people vote on it. We'll have the people vote. Popular sovereignty. So MAGA Mike goes, Prop 50 was unlawful. Gavin Newsom's trying to rig the midterms. This is all Gavin's fault. Really? You may want to look in the mirror, or you may want to, I don't know, look to who you're waking up next to in the morning, because it may be Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
Make a comment about the tragedy in California last night. What California did is very, very different, as you all know, by comparison to what a state like Texas did. Texas was following the federal and state constitution, following their state law and redistricting. California was not. They had to trample over their own state law, over their own independent redistricting commission that they had all put into place. It was a desperation, a sign of desperation on the Democrat Party. It was a game to try to rig the election, as if you could gerrymander California anymore. They managed to do it. I mean, there's like 53 representatives from California. We had 9. They want us to have 3. I mean, it's just a blatant example of Gavin Newsom's immoral leadership, and the fact that they will do anything to try to rig the system.
Then MAGA Mike Johnson says, look, let's talk about the economy and healthcare. They're the 2 primary issues right now, and Americans trust us, the MAGA Republicans. Here, play this clip.
The economy and healthcare are 2 of the primary issues in the country, clearly, and that's why we are delighted to run on our record. We are addressing that. We are delivering for the people. We are fulfilling our promises.
Let's bring in Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Leader Jeffries, you have MAGA Mike Johnson going through his morning humiliation ritual. Donald Trump trots him out there. He lies to the American people. But this morning, he said that the blue tidal wave that swept across the United States is not a reflection about Republicans at all. And he says that he's very bullish on the outcome of the midterms based on what he saw yesterday. What's your response, Leader Jeffries?
Well, House Republicans in their thin majority are going down in flames. And Mike Johnson is either lying to the American people or he's just divorced from reality, or some combination of the 2. What we've seen across America as a result of last night's election was a complete affirmation of the Democratic vision of driving down the high cost of living, fixing our broken healthcare system, and pushing back aggressively against the corruption and extremism that has been unleashed on the American people by Donald Trump and his cronies in the House and the Senate from day one. And it was certainly a repudiation of the failure of Republicans to do a damn thing to make life better for the American people. In fact, under Republican policies, things are getting worse. The cost of living has gone up. We've seen, extremism unleashed in horrific ways on law-abiding immigrant communities. That has horrified the American people. The attacks on the rule of law, the failures and attacks on healthcare, the attacks on nutritional assistance, all of the things, have been a disaster and a failure under complete control of government by Republicans.
Leader Jeffries, you're telling me that the American people we're not responding in the right way to Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans and his cabinet throwing a Great Gatsby Roaring 20s themed party with half-naked women dancing in martini glasses while 42 million Americans were having their SNAP ripped away and 20 million Americans losing health care. I mean, just the idea that MAGA Mike said it was obligatory. That's what he said in one of the press conferences. He said Trump has no choice but to throw these Roaring 20s themed parties while Americans are suffering. But doesn't it seem to be that's what they do, tearing down the East Wing, building triumphal arches or whatever the hell they're doing while people are suffering?
I mean, in your face, they are pushing this narrative that greed is good and we're just going to enrich the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. That was the foundation of their one big ugly bill. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers closing all across the country because of what Republican policies have done. And in that same bill, of course, they cut $186 billion from SNAP, the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history. They literally ripped food out of the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And they did all of that so they could reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. And throughout this 36-day government shutdown, where Trump and Republicans have shut the government down because they're unwilling to provide affordable health care to the American people. We've seen just the most outrageous and outlandish behavior, including that so-called Halloween party that was just a celebration of the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. They have torn down half the White House in plain sight. Donald Trump found $40 billion to reward his right-wing wannabe dictator, billionaire buddy in Argentina, but can't find a dime to make sure that children in America don't go hungry. He's ripped SNAP benefits away from them. So certainly, Ben, you're absolutely right that the American people are smart. They see all of this. It's happening in their face, and they rejected it decisively across the country last night.
Now, one of the things that you've been saying is that Donald Trump and MAGA Mike Johnson are running a PPP, a pedo protection program. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's extraordinary. This pedophile protection program, that is the only explanation at this point for the fact that House Republicans have now canceled votes 6 consecutive weeks. These people are literally on a taxpayer-funded vacation while the government is shut down, and hundreds of thousands of federal employees are either being forced to work without pay or have been furloughed. They're not sure at this point how they can pay the rent, the mortgage, put food on the table. Mike Johnson could care less, and he's kept the House out because clearly he does not want to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva, because she will be the 218th vote on a discharge petition that will trigger legislation to the floor that forces the Department of Justice to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. And so it's extraordinary. Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva won in late September. We're now in early November. And so the only rational explanation for what Mike Johnson is doing in keeping the House out, basically castrating his own majority, keeping the House out for the last 6 weeks, is that it's all in service of the pedophile protection program, because they don't want the Jeffrey Epstein files released, and they're protecting people in those files at the direction of Donald Trump and the MAGA extremists in the White House.
And we know that Donald Trump's name is all over the files based on what Pam Bondi and Kash Patel told him as well. Let's talk about this letter that you and Senate Leader Schumer sent to Donald Trump and to all the MAGA leaders as soon as the election results were all in. This morning you wrote, "Dear President Trump, we write to demand a bipartisan meeting of legislative leaders to end the GOP shutdown of the federal government and decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis. Democrats stand ready to meet with you face to face anytime and any place. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Now, what does it say to you that Donald Trump, MAGA Mike, and Thune say that it would be theatrics if you all met, or that if it was a meeting in public, it would be too theatrical for them to do it? That's why they've refused to meet with you, yet alone negotiate with you. No meeting. They don't want to talk to you. It's like little babies. What do you make of it?
Yeah, their position is completely and totally indefensible, and that's why they continue to run scared. And it's extraordinary to me. Donald Trump, from the beginning of this shutdown, has spent more time talking to Hamas and the Chinese Communist Party than he has talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill who represent half the country. And in fact, we've seen him multiple times on the golf course after these extremists shut the government down. And so this morning, Leader Schumer and I once again made clear we'll sit down with them anytime, any place, in order to reopen the government, to find a bipartisan path forward to enacting a spending agreement. But that spending agreement actually has to make life better for the American people and lower the high cost of living. And we're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. That was our position in September. That was our position in October. It remains our position in November. We need to decisively address the healthcare crisis that Republicans are visiting on the American people.
Before we go, Leader Jeffries, any final message you want to say to our 6 million subscribers and to the American people who are feeling, all right, big day yesterday, but we've got a lot of work ahead of us heading into these midterms. And, it's time to put some checks and balances back into our system.
We've got to keep our foot on the gas pedal and finish the job, which will involve making sure that House Democrats take back control of the United States Congress next November, building upon the victories that we had yesterday, so we can actually be a check and balance on an out of control executive branch. That we don't work for Donald Trump, we don't work for J.D. Vance, we don't work for their billionaire donors, we work for the American people. And the only way you'll see a Congress that functions like that is if we continue to show up and stand up and speak up for what we all know is right. We've got to keep our foot on the gas pedal. Things are moving in the right direction, but we've got to stay in this fight until we win this fight for the American people.
Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, thanks as always for your time.
Thanks, Ben.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.